Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series. Christmas night, December 25th of 1982. We are obviously will be starting in 1983 sometime in the next 24 hours. But we start with Tug Taylor and Mr. Olympia. Olympia has been a major force in the area. He is a red, white, and blue masker on this particular day. He sends Tug Taylor to the outside in a rather quick hurry. Taylor is a guy who doesn't really get a lot of notice, at least from me. I haven't seen much of his work outside of Global, so it'll be interesting if I see him more places than I expect to as I go through this territorial run. Anyway, the front face lock by Olympia and then rolls through pretty assertively. Olympia, obviously, a guy who was a major star in this particular area and stays here. I think he actually, if I remember correctly, it might have been Jim Cornette or another podcaster from the 80s, early 90s said Olympia preferred to stay in the Mid-South territory because he had home there and could always kind of go home. Of course, 2,000 miles a week. I don't know how much home he was staying, but that's kind of there. Anyway, shorter episode than normal, only 35-minute runtime, so usually maybe they clipped something or had extra ads or something. I don't really know what the deal was there. Olympia manages to get a victory, though, and he manages to do so with his sleeper hold, as he had done for several months prior to the last couple, where he kind of has changed up a little bit. Chavo Guerrero and Hacksaw Duggan. Hacksaw has the I believe, Louisiana Championship there. And obviously a bit of a Styles clash, but a good Styles clash match. Again, I didn't know I wanted to see until I saw it. Power versus speed is the mode of the day. Chavo getting a little more wrestling, and Duggan trying to do a little bit more of the brawling, and Duggan tries to snatch headlock, can't stay on the head for it quite a bit, and manages to do so. Duggan always comes up fighting in a fighter stance, which is something I think a lot of guys could learn a good bit from, and Duggan manages the Irish whip, hits a backbreaker pretty aggressively out of, well, not nowhere, but a little bit more of a surprise than I think good old Chavo was hoping for. Anyway, rolls through does Chavo and stays on the arm, and he's working on the arm. Duggan unhappy with being on the mat, obviously, and again, Chavo kicking away at the legs, trying to find any weak spot he can on Duggan, your Louisiana State Heavyweight Champion, and that is kind of there. Duggan kind of brawls his way through, and again, we got, I wouldn't say a lot of new people, but enough new people in the area where 1983 looks pretty interesting. Duggan misses a bunch of punches, and Chavo outquicks him. Pretty basic there. Irish whip by Duggan. Duggan goes to the 3-point stance, misses in the corner, and sunset flip 1, 2, and 3. I do believe we have a new champion if the championship was on the line. I don't know if the championship was on the line or not, but Duggan is very unhappy with the loss and actually might be, he's either got a mouse or a little bit of blood under his eye. Either way, Duggan looks like he's taking quite a bit of beating there. Tony Atlas and Rick and John Davidson is up next. 2-on-1 match. Atlas can't handle it because he's a power guy, and they're trying to really get over his power as a major, major thing. And Atlas manages to go with Duggan the previous week, and I kind of go back to that footage a little bit. And Atlas comes up and tries to, I guess, prove dominance after that. But they do replay last week's shenanigans with Duggan and Atlas. And of course, Tony never wanted to take a backward step from anything, Mr. USA. He's very dominant even in a 2-on-1 situation or handicap match situation, and uses the power and some basic wrestling technique. Of course, he's been around by this point probably about 5 or 6 years, and has a more firm grasp on what wrestling needs to be or needs to look like. Power moves, hammerlocks, and Atlas makes his way out of being double teamed, manages to ingratiate himself with the fans even more than he already was coming into the contest, and it again becomes a pretty major match and pretty major accomplishment. I mean, Atlas is here at one of the high points of the territory. Of course, major high point probably 84, 85ish, and the military press does get Atlas the victory. Tony Torres versus Kamala is there, and that is where we're going next. A match that doesn't really get started too much as we see Mr. Wrestling 2 make his way into the area. Of course, Akbar and Friday, which later is reprised as Kamashi in the WWF. I think he does use the Friday name for a bit too, but anyway, Kamala in Mid-South, made to look like a bit of a star. Certainly a good thing and a way to kind of keep a top heel running. Of course, Junkyard Dog and he managed to have quite a few matches, but he had interfered with Wrestling 2 the previous week, and Kamala lays out his opponent with a spear, and then Akbar gets taken down by Wrestling 2, and Wrestling 2 obviously not impressed with the uses of Kamala, and then Akbar just basically gets demolished, and several officials have to come in. Then we go to DiBiase and Bourne versus Mr. Olympia and Stagger Lee. Olympia, but before we get there, they end up checking on Mr. Wrestling 2 as the damage has been done to him as well. But about 8 minutes left, and they've still got 2 segments, so DiBiase and Bourne not very, very happy with the Stagger Lee Mr. Olympia situation. Match is relatively short and to the point. Olympia and Lee obviously over with the fans quite a bit in the area for the way they have been portrayed, and obviously going weekly and seeing them is going to get them over, and that same TV crowd certainly used to seeing them create chaos. The champions don't even want to start the match. They don't want to take the belts off. They are very, very unhappy with the chaos that they see is happening, and they're even threatening to bail out and not wanting to do any bit of wrestling. And Lee and Olympia basically calling them cowards and trying to call them back into the ring. Nothing really gets settled in the contest, and obviously they want to carry that into 1983. They want to carry it as long as they can. I think that was the other thing, too. You wanted to get major angles going for a while. They finally do get into the ring, and Stagger Lee takes over on DiBiase and Bourne, for that matter, for a couple of minutes. And, he hits headbutts all the way around. Again, Bourne and DiBiase manage to go to the outside. They bail out, come back in. Mr. Olympia, the legal man, he's wanting to go as much as he can go. Olympia manages to maintain his continuation of a match, and then we see Stagger Lee basically choking out Ted DiBiase. Referee can't break up the fight between the two matches. All but stopped, and then we go to Gino Hernandez and Tim Horner, which gives us a non-finish because they literally start with less than 2 minutes left in the broadcast. But at least it gets Horner and Hernandez on the program to close out 1982. We will be back at some point today, probably, if not definitely tomorrow, to start 1983. We will continue until we've got as much Mid-South as we can. We've also got, obviously, current day stuff, AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling, all of the or most of the World Class Championship Wrestling stuff, 340, I believe, of those, and Superstars of Wrestling. I'm going to add more as we go into 2021 and beyond, and make this the best place for wrestling recaps and interviews on YouTube.